And joining us is a gentleman who is always out and about. And this weekend, this Saturday, it appears to be something special. Let me say a special good evening to General Secretary of JTUM, Mr. Ozzie Warwick.
Yes, and good evening to you, Mikey, and to the audience, and thank you for having me on your program, The Observer.
All right, thank you so much for taking time out. We're hearing some noise in the background, guys. I don't know if you're settling.
No, I'm good. I'm okay.
Okay, great. Saturday, and according to the reports, of course, even at the press conference, I think that at this point in time, the straw that has broken the camel's back, would it be, of course, the Prime Minister's salary, which is intended to increase from 59,000 to 87,000 monthly? Give us an idea, because we heard it's not just a one-dimensional sort of thing. It's so many factors that were considered in order to make this move come Saturday.
Yeah, it is a lot of factors and a lot of variables and a lot of issues that really came together. But I think you said it right when you said the straw that broke the camel's back. In that, what we are seeing is a country and a nation that is in crisis. In other words, we have to put that in the backdrop of an economic catastrophe, a failed energy sector, fall in oil and gas production, fall in revenue, forex. We have a forex crisis. We have a minister of finance who cannot account for $2.5 billion. And then recently, if you recall, we heard that another $150 million not properly accounted for by PTSC. We have crime at an all-time high, highest murder rates we've had in our country's history. We've had fuel prices that were raised 7 times. We had property tax, then proposed increase in water and electricity rates. And I think what really culminated in this is you had workers outside struggling, fighting because they are being imposed a 4% over 6 years with no consolidation of COLA. You had a prime minister in the face of all of these struggles. You have port workers, the tea and tech workers, of course, having many demonstrations. You had the postal workers walking from Arima to Port of Spain. He then tells the country, you've got to tighten your belt, difficult times ahead. And as all of that is unfolding, in the face of all of that, up comes this SRC recommendation. It was bad enough, Mikey, it was bad enough that it was laid in the first place. But to really slap the people in their faces is that he comes out in an arrogant manner, in a very cocky way, and say that they have decided to accept the recommendations. Which recommendation has him going home with a 47.5% increase. You're telling workers who are turning the wheels of the economy that they are only worth 4% over 6 years with non-consolidation of COLA. But you're walking home with 47.5% increase, $1 million back pay. And you know what people forgot? In 2019, they came to the parliament to pass the Prime Minister's Pension Act. I wonder if people remember that. That's 2019. Improving his pension to be increased every 5 years and to include in its calculation all the allowances, personal allowance, travel allowance, and on top of that, that it's linked to every Prime Minister going forward, whoever gets an increase, his pension increases. So, I mean, I think that would have been the straw that broke the camel's back, because it is telling the population, I really don't care about you. And do you recall, Mikey, and this is the one that really I think matters, when a reporter asked, do you think this is fair? You hear that concept, fairness. He said it doesn't matter. This is the Prime Minister of your country saying that fairness, being fair or not, don't matter. Then it tells you that he has absolutely no consideration for people.
Let me ask you this, General Secretary. I mean, there are folks who are going to weigh in on this and say, listen, there must have been some warning signs. These developments did not take place overnight. And one of the things I always ask my comrades in the trade union movement is that at what point did you not realize that this administration is not labor friendly? And it seems as though it was a plan that was drafted out even before entering office, where many of the state assets would seem to be more attractive without the presence of the union, by taking away that body that represents the working class. At some point in time, and people are asking, of course, why did it take so long? Because at no point in time it seemed as though this administration was willing to embrace the OWTU or any union as that fact. Did you give them, or should I say, did you give the government too much of rope?
Well, I would ask really, what took the population so long to actually listen to us? I want to take you back to almost 6 years ago, Mikey, when we on a Labor Day platform made certain demands and we were on the streets. We were on the streets on several occasions. And you know what the truth is, Mikey? We were alone. We were the only ones on the streets. And in fact, when we did a performance appraisal on him, and we put a failed grade and we called for a day. I want people to remember this part. A day of rest and reflection. People talking about, well, why all of us shut down the country? Well, we did in 2018 on 7th of September. The question is, why didn't the population join with us when we made that call? Nonetheless, we felt that, I think it's not just the trade unions, because we've been always out there. I just said to you, those workers have been protesting for quite some time. But I think what really enraged the population to finally say, well, wait now, we want actually a space in which to express our anger. And the trade union movement provided that space for this Saturday, on this Saturday. So we ourselves say, you know what, yes, we've been out there calling in the wilderness, but that's all right. That's in the past. You population, you have an opportunity and a space to join with us, because we cannot do it alone, Mikey. We cannot do it. No group could do it alone. Not to fight this government, which is prepared to use the power of the state. Don't forget, Mikey, when teachers came out about 2 years ago, they filed an injunction. The port workers were taking action. They filed an injunction. The TNTech workers, they are prepared to use the power of the state. They weaponize the industrial court to suppress any form of protestation. And you know what? In defiance of all of that, we decided to have this space and call on the population to join with the workers on the 7th of December.
Yeah. Listening to the President General, of course, Mr. Ansel Roger, he made it quite clear, and a lot of the spotlight was put on the economy. Not just Petrotrin, but the aspect, of course, foreign exchange, access to Forex and all of these things. Has the union been viewing this from an economic perspective for quite some time now?
We've been looking at analyzing the collapsing economy. In fact, we would have about 3 years ago warned the country, listen, what we are seeing is a fall in oil and gas production over time, especially under this administration. And we put forward the numbers. Just to give you another quick example, do you know that our total average crude oil production fell by 25.2%? In fact, our gas reached for the first time in 20 years. It reached in June 2024. It fell for the first time in 20 years under 2,000 million cubic feet per day. We had a gas production fell by 25.6%. And their model of heritage showed oil production falling by some 13.4%. So we've been looking at this and I've been saying, listen, the continued fall in collapse in our energy sector, we warned that there was a gas crisis, that the plants in Point Lisas couldn't get gas. Now, why that is important? Because those plants they export their product, which brings in foreign exchange, but they were underperforming, underproducing because they couldn't get gas. So all of these parts are connected. And what is even worse is that as the revenue fall because of the collapsing energy sector, they then shifted the burden to ordinary people. And that's why you're seeing that, imagine police officers now might become tax collectors, on the road, charging people for all sorts of things. And then they talked about wanting to put property tax on us, and then they want to increase. Remember that whole thing about the TNTech rates increase, and we were out there
all of that,
speaking.
yeah.
So the burden is now placed on the population because of the collapsing energy sector, which meant a complete fall in revenue.
General Secretary,
it's a need forex crisis.
General Secretary, let me ask you this, of course. There are so many things underlining that we, the citizens, we, the major shareholders of all that exists here in these enterprises that we invested into, being citizens, of course. And a lot of things that may be tied up. You having some insight into the whole operations of our energy sector, because it seems to be a bit cloudy with NDAs and certain agreements and things that were done with not above board, and the fact that we're spending a lot of money for products when you look at the amount of money that's being spent that are being imported. Are there some things in there that we are going to be shocked about if given the opportunity to have everything exposed and open?
I think people will be extremely shocked. Let's just take, for example, how much money we're spending on to import 7.6 billion US dollars between December 2018 to June 2024. Now, where are they getting that US from? One of the things that will shock the country is the amount of borrowing of US currency that this government has engaged in order to prop up, because that's what they've been doing. They've been propping up the foreign exchange. The other shocker that will come is what they intend to do with some of the other major state enterprises, TNTech, WASA, NP, PowerGen. When they finish, Mikey, we as the citizens would have no stake in any state enterprise that deliver the critical services to our population. And that will be the huge shocker when we realize that the social support infrastructure that has been built up over the years from independence to now is no longer there. You know what I heard today, Mikey? That now certain pharmacies are not even taking prescriptions by the hospitals or the RHAs. They're not honoring those prescriptions. So people now have to go to private enterprises, private health centers, in order to get prescriptions, and then they have to pay themselves. So everything that we have as a social security system that provides, at least for the citizens, at least some semblance of a standard of living, that will be gone. And I think that will be the major shocker for everyone.
Give us an idea as far as your members. I mean, the stories that you're hearing, and I mean, I'm sure that you are burdened with them on a daily basis. You would have had former petroleum workers, people who simply just cannot keep their heads above water. Give us an idea of what's been happening with these individuals.
A lot of those individuals would have lost their homes. They would have lost their vehicles. Many of them, they lost their medical plan. Many of them died. We've had almost 500 of them dying. That's retirees. Now their pension is in jeopardy. That's the other shocker that's coming. The pension plan, the Petroleum Employees Pension Plan, which is one of the largest pension plans within our finance system, if that collapses, then our finance sector collapses. So that's another shocker. In addition, you're talking about the TNTech workers and their struggle in terms of lack of health and safety in TNTech, the lack of trucks, the unavailability of manpower, because there is a significant reduction in manpower in TNTech. That means that can affect the operations and therefore the supply of electricity. Those workers, we are enjoying electricity because those workers are going over and beyond with the little that they are provided to ensure that the country has a reliable supply of electricity, but they can only do so much for so long. So that is another one that is coming.
Go ahead.
But you also have the workers at NP, UE, UTT, NatPet, PowerGen, National Quarries, NTA. It's across all the sectors, Mikey, where people are struggling just to put food on their table, just to provide for their family. You know, many people would have been kicked out of their homes because they cannot afford the rent. They can't, and you know that you have TTMF hanging down people now. They're acting like as this aggressive machinery. So you can't even lapse with 1 month's payment in your mortgage to TTMF. So that is the kind of burden that people are enduring. And that is why this obscene acceptance by the Prime Minister of 47.5% is really a slap in the face of the population. And that is why people are reacting. And sometimes, the thing is, Mikey, the way sometimes revolution works, people take. And then there's just one thing more that the authorities do that they just can't take it anymore.
I agree with you. Tell us more about Saturday, comrade. Where's the gathering, and of course the whole process of getting to the destination, Whitehall. Gathering time. Go right ahead and give us the logistics, please.
Well, we wanted to, first of all, it has to be at the office of the Prime Minister. Symbolically, it has to be there. But we wanted, the good thing is that it's right, luckily it's not where it used to be. It's right opposite an open field, open public space for people to gather in the savannah opposite the Whitehall from 9 a.m. And I think that show of force, and that is why the numbers are important, will send a clear message to the government that the people, not just trade unions, because this activity is not about trade unions, but the people of Trinidad and Tobago will not tolerate any more of this disregard for the struggles that we are going through on a day-to-day basis. So that is opposite Whitehall, Queen's Park Savannah, 9 a.m. this Saturday, December the 7th.
Is this the first of many to come?
We will announce several other activities and come out on Saturday morning so you can hear what the next series of activities will be.
All right. Any closing comments? Go right ahead.
My closing comment is that there comes a time in any person's life where you have to just take a stand. Quarreling on social media, making TikTok videos and IG and so on and on Facebook, that's all well nice. But you see, when you are asked to take a stand and put your physical body and being in a space with many thousand others to send a clear message, I think by doing that, you do justice to your children and your children's children. Taking a stand to express your dissatisfaction is a fundamental right that you have. And it is doing more than simply quarreling or complaining. Let us band together in a united struggle for a better Trinidad and Tobago. This is not just about workers. This is not just about trade unions. This is just about Trinidad and Tobago.
All right. Thank you so much, comrade. Keep up the fight. Stand with you in solidarity. Thank you so much.
Thank you.